the student who loved to play the mistress, the girl whose tuition I paid, messaged my husband in the middle of the night. Honey, this Tet holiday, could you pretend to be my boyfriend for a day and come back to my hometown with me? In that instant, a furious rage surged through me. My husband, without a hint of deference, replied, "Impressive. Well, you can earn your own tuition money from now on." Suddenly, a suffocating wave of anger choked in my throat. Late that night, I was still packing for our Tet holiday trip back home. Suddenly, Kyson's phone chimed. His phone was set to recognize my face. As I tilted my head to peek, the screen unlocked. A WeChat message popped up. "Honey, this Tet holiday, could you pretend to be my boyfriend for a day and come back to my hometown with me?" As soon as I read it, my eyebrows knitted together. If it weren't from someone I knew, I would have thought it was a scam. I scrolled up and saw they had quite a few conversations, but most of them were initiated by Tiffany. Kyson sometimes didn't even bother to reply. So that's how it was. What an ungrateful wretch. Taking my money for university and then turning around to seduce my husband? The fury inside me was about to explode. Just then, Kyson walked in. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. "You look tired from packing. Go rest, I'll finish up." I, with a cold face, threw the phone into his hand. He immediately frowned. "Is something wrong with this girl?" I fumed. "Crazy or not, how dare you secretly WeChat her behind my back?" Facing my accusation, Kyson looked wronged. "Didn't you take my phone and make me add her as a friend?" It was then I remembered that Tiffany had once said her intern assignment needed a company seal and asked for my help. Kyson had his own company, so it was more convenient to ask him to stamp it than anyone else. So this was indeed my doing. I had brought a snake into my own home. While I was still fuming, Kyson grabbed his phone and started typing furiously. "If that's the kind of place you're headed, then go earn your own tuition money from now on." Seeing the message he'd just sent on the screen, the anger in my heart melted away. Kyson's words last night had been truly cutting. I had thought Tiffany would be too ashamed to ever face us again. Who knew she would call the very next day? She cried as she called me Sister Janice, pleading for a meeting. Kyson was astonished when he heard I agreed to meet. "Why bother with that crazy girl? You'd be better off shopping for Tet clothes with that time." I mumbled a vague agreement and changed my clothes to meet Tiffany. She met me at Missy T. As soon as she sat down, she greeted me warmly. "Sister Janice, I only have enough to treat you to Missy T. Please don't look down on me." Her shyness made it impossible for me to reconcile her with the conniving girl who messaged other people's husbands in the middle of the night. Was her act just that convincing, or was there really another hidden reason? I forced a smile. "I often drink here anyway, there's nothing to be embarrassed about." When she looked up again, her face was covered in tears. "Sister Janice, I made a mistake. I messaged him last night and I think he's angry with me." I pretended to be oblivious. "Oh, really?" Then Tiffany voluntarily took out her phone and showed it to me. Crying, she said, "Sister Janice, my grandmother is sick. The village doctor says she doesn't have much time left. My grandmother raised me from a young age, and her biggest wish is to see me get married. I don't know many people, I only trust you and your husband." After the lockdown, even the most careful people could get infected. I tested positive last week too, and had a fever for 3 days before getting better. If an elderly person gets infected and doesn't get timely treatment, it's hard for them to recover. Seeing Tiffany crying so miserably, I felt a pang of sympathy for her. While I felt bad for her, asking me to lend her my husband was out of the question. I could be generous, but toothbrushes, underwear, and husbands were not to be shared. Tiffany didn't bring up the topic of Kyson pretending to be her boyfriend again. She only insisted I apologize to Kyson on her behalf. She was probably afraid we would cut off her tuition money. That evening, I told Kyson everything. He scoffed. "Do you really believe her?" I said, would she really curse her own grandmother? Before deciding to sponsor Tiffany, we thoroughly investigated her background. She grew up in a remote village, where life was already difficult. Misfortune struck when her father passed away when she was young, and her mother later remarried to find her own happiness. Her childhood was therefore deeply intertwined with her grandmother, who loved and cared for her like her own child. Despite her family's modest circumstances and the arduous path to school, her academic performance was always excellent. Kyson, with a slightly sarcastic smile but eyes full of love, gently pinched my cheek. He said, "As long as you're happy, that's all that matters." At his age, Kyson had already built and managed his own company. Because of this, I trusted his judgment of people even more. Could it be that my gut feeling about Tiffany was right, Was there really something wrong with her? I hastily opened Tiffany's personal page to take a closer look, but it seemed she had blocked me long ago. I tried searching for information on her DZIN account, but found no trace. However, with persistence and my tracking abilities, I followed the comments on her DZIN and figured out her Xiao Hongsu account. Once a woman's curiosity is piqued, her detective skills can rival Sherlock Holmes. I quickly found and scrolled through her Xiao Hongsu page, and what I saw truly shocked me. This account had over 10,000 followers, and the content primarily consisted of photos flaunting expensive designer items and meticulously edited selfies. The photo angles were expertly chosen, creating an appearance that was both luxurious and mysterious. Before seeing her selfies, I almost mistook it for my own account, because the luxury items she shared on Xiao Hongsu were exactly the same items I frequently posted on my own personal page. I usually shared interesting items I liked on my personal page, and since they were all close friends, I never blocked anyone. But I couldn't believe Tiffany dared to brazenly claim those things as her own. An indescribable feeling of nausea welled up inside me. I never expected her to be so obsessed with vanity. I continued to scroll down for more information. Suddenly, I saw the familiar back of a man. If I wasn't mistaken, that back belonged to Kyson, and the photo location was his office. Below the photo was an enigmatic caption: "Mr. Kyson works so hard, poor him." But the comments section was truly something else. The goddess's boyfriend looks so dashing, opening his own company at such a young age, truly a perfect match for our goddess. Below this comment, Tiffany even replied, "Mr. Kyson is truly exceptional, he's my admired idol." What does my husband's excellence have to do with her? What now? Was she planning to steal his nest? I hadn't even had time to think of a way to deal with Tiffany when she came knocking on our door herself. "Sister Janice, you and your husband still have a few days before you head back to your hometown for Tet, right?" I nodded. She smiled and said, "Then, could I stay at your place for a few days?" For a moment, I wondered if my hearing was faulty. Then I listened as Tiffany explained her reason. She said that because of her internship, she needed to stay in the city for a few more days. But tomorrow, the school would kick all students out, and she had no other choice, which was why she thought of asking to stay at my house for a few days. She and I weren't even close, yet she could brazenly ask for such a favor. And thinking about what she had posted on her Xiao Hongsu account, I felt that this matter was not so simple. Tiffany continued to act pitiful, begging me and recounting her hardships. She said, "Sister Janice, I won't just sit around, I can work. Just consider it like you're hiring a temporary maid for a few days." Any remaining goodwill I had for Tiffany completely vanished after her suggestive, "Mr. Kyson," comments. But if she wanted to come to my house and act as a maid so badly, I would let her have her wish. After all, having a stranger stay in our home, I still needed to ask Kyson's opinion. He simply replied with 2 words, "Up to you." And so, I agreed to let Tiffany stay. I was just curious to see what trick she was planning to pull. After Tiffany arrived at my house, she was surprisingly proactive. She voluntarily cleaned the house and even prepared dinner herself. When Kyson returned home from work, he saw the food laid out on the table and looked at me in surprise. "Did you just order takeout?" Before I could even answer, Tiffany brought out the last bowl of soup from the kitchen. She smiled brightly at Kyson. "Honey, you're just in time. The hot soup I just cooked is ready. You can have some to warm your stomach." Kyson didn't even spare her a glance. He tossed his briefcase aside and rushed to hug me on the sofa. "Why didn't you order from Happy Arrival Restaurant? Didn't you say you wanted stir-fried beef ho fun tonight?" Kyson knew I didn't like cooking. Normally, if he was free, he would cook, otherwise, we would order food or eat out. Tiffany was completely ignored, like thin air. Kyson didn't acknowledge her at all from beginning to end. During the meal, Tiffany eagerly put food into Kyson's bowl. "Honey, I noticed your kitchen is so new. I guess Sister Janice doesn't usually like cooking at home, right? My grandma says that a woman who knows how to take care of a man's stomach is a truly virtuous wife." My hand, holding my rice bowl, froze. Was she subtly mocking me for not knowing how to cook, implying I wasn't a virtuous wife? Before I could retort, Kyson was a step faster. "Don't you know that cooking fumes are bad for a woman's skin? It's a waste that you're a student from a prestigious school. Only useless men need their wives to prove their virtue by cooking." Kyson finished speaking and pushed the heavily filled bowl a little further away from him. He frowned and added, "Next time, remember to prepare separate chopsticks, don't share." Besides my wife's saliva, I'm afraid of getting HB bacteria from others. Tiffany's face, alternating between red and green, was truly a sight to behold. I had to use all my strength to hold back my laughter, almost spitting out my rice. Kyson was indeed the best at scolding people. He truly was my husband. After dinner, Kyson stayed holed up in his study. He only emerged when I called out that I was sleepy. If you're sleepy, go to our room first. It's year-end, there's a lot of work. I'll join you once I'm done. I didn't make a fuss, turned and went into the bedroom, picked up my phone, and opened the Zio Hongsu app. And immediately, I saw Tiffany had just updated her status. The photo showed my kitchen, along with the dishes she had cooked that evening. The dishes looked quite decent, and with the added filter effects, immediately attracted a crowd of fans gushing with praise. Underneath, a fan commented, "Our goddess is so capable, surely she cooked for Mr. Kyson, right?" Tiffany immediately replied, "The way to a man's heart is through his stomach." I really have to hand it to her. How could she be so shameless? If she was so capable, why didn't she earn money legitimately? If she felt too lonely with her smooth talking, finding a boyfriend shouldn't be hard. Why did she have to covet other people's husbands? Just as I was wondering, my phone suddenly prompted a connection request to the surveillance camera. The moment I opened it, the sickening image almost made me throw up. Tiffany was wrapped in nothing but a flimsy bath towel, standing at the door of Kyson's study with a flustered expression. "Honey, I'm so sorry. I'm not familiar with the layout here and opened the wrong door." Unbelievable. The maid's room was next to the kitchen, while Kyson's study was in the innermost corner of the house. One was in the east, the other in the west. How could she still have the nerve to say she took a wrong turn? I tried to suppress my anger, wanting to see how Kyson would handle this situation. Kyson glanced at Tiffany, his voice becoming extremely cold. "The red light district in South City is short on people. If you're so restless, go stand on the street there. Don't defile my house." Tiffany was stunned instantly. She probably never expected that despite her brazen seduction, Kyson remained completely unmoved. Kyson, his face stern, added two more words: "Bad luck." This time, Tiffany couldn't take it anymore. Her eyes red-rimmed, she ran off. A few minutes later, Kyson returned to the room. As soon as he entered, he lovingly pinched my waist. This slender waist wasn't just my preference, Kyson was also extremely fond of it. When he was annoyed, he often liked to pinch my waist and then playfully nibble my ear. "You're really calm, aren't you? Aren't you afraid I'll be carried away by a wolf?" I flattered him. "Isn't it because I know Mr. Kyson, sitting in his room, is completely unperturbed, a true wolf slayer? How could an ungrateful wretch like her ever deceive you?" Kyson, exasperated, reached out and pinched my nose. "You've had enough fun. Tell her to leave. I don't want any more strangers in the house." I nodded in agreement. After what happened tonight, no matter how thick-skinned Tiffany was, she'd surely know it was time to leave. If she could repent in time, considering she hadn't caused any major harm to my family yet, I could forgive her once. But if she stubbornly refused to change, then she shouldn't blame me for being unmerciful. I thought Tiffany would proactively ask to leave, but to my surprise, she acted as if nothing had happened. To uncover Tiffany's true intentions, I deliberately pretended ignorance and confronted her. "What did you do last night? Kyson was furious and told me to send you home immediately." The moment I finished speaking, Tiffany's eyes immediately reddened. Tears welled up and spilled down her cheeks, making her seem somewhat pitiful. "Sister Janice, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's my first time in your home, and I've never stayed in such a big house. I went into the wrong room and disturbed your husband's work, making him angry. Sister Janice, please don't kick me out. I truly understand my mistake, and I sincerely beg for your forgiveness." This scene left me utterly perplexed. Kyson had spoken to Tiffany so directly, even crushing and trampling her self-esteem until nothing was left. Yet, she could still utter such pleading words. Did she think I was so foolish and easily deceived? Or was it because she was so deeply in love with Kyson that she couldn't let go? To uncover Tiffany's true motives, I decided not to kick her out just yet. I would keep this little green tea around for a few more days to see what other tricks she had up her sleeve. Today, Tiffany was exceptionally well-behaved and diligently cleaned the house. Thinking there wouldn't be any interesting drama to watch today, I decided to reorganize my wardrobe a bit, then called my best friend to go shopping. While my friend was trying on clothes, I sat outside, bored, and started scrolling through Zio Hongsu. Perhaps because I had been following Tiffany quite a lot recently, as soon as I opened the app, the algorithm immediately suggested her latest post. Noticing an unusually high number of comments, I curiously clicked to view. This time, it was a video, and upon opening it, I discovered it was a makeup tutorial. Tiffany meticulously filmed each skincare step, and the setting was still my living room. Wait, La Prairie Essence and Crème de la Mer, oh my god, weren't these all my things? They were all my things. I couldn't possibly be mistaken. My Crème de la Mer jar was ceramic, and last time, I accidentally chipped a corner. I recognized it immediately with just a glance. She scooped a generous amount of cream from the jar and brought it up to the camera, showing off. Ladies, moisturizer is a crucial skincare step. Make sure to use enough. This cream is super hydrating, and in winter, I love using it on my feet to prevent dryness and cracks. The continuous stream of comments on the screen made me so angry I almost spat blood. The goddess is so rich, using designer cream on her feet. I don't even know what Crème de la Mer smells like. Goddess, let me smell your feet. It was outrageous. Of course, she didn't feel any remorse because they weren't her things. Although my family's financial situation wasn't bad, all this money was earned through our hard work, sweat, and tears. With expensive moisturizers like Crème de la Mer, every time I used it, I felt a pang of regret about the cost. But she was using my cream on her feet. The anger within me was reaching its peak. I decided to comment directly on her post. Look at this setting, have you moved again? I used a secondary account to comment so she wouldn't know who I was. A few minutes later, a small red dot appeared on my phone. Tiffany had replied to me, I just moved here 2 days ago. I continued my reply. What a coincidence. Your living room looks exactly like my friend's living room, even the building complex is the same. My friend's name is Janice, do you know her? I waited for over half an hour, but Tiffany still didn't reply. Was she going to play turtle and hide in her shell? Furious, I added another comment. Did my friend sell her house without telling me? I guess I'll have to ask her. As soon as I posted the comment, Tiffany immediately appeared. She messaged me privately. Sister, do you know Janice Lynn? I replied. Of course. Isn't the place where you posted the video Janice's house? I've visited several times before. Do you know her too? She answered. Yes, I'm Janice Lynn's relative. I'm temporarily staying at her place these days. Janice doesn't like her home being exposed publicly. Could you please delete your comment? I laughed coldly. Then why don't you delete the video? Staying in someone else's home, using someone else's things, and pretending they're yours, how can you be so shameless? You don't need to lie. I gave that exact limited edition cream jar to Janice Lynn. I remember it, and I can recognize it immediately. Immediately after I sent the message, Tiffany quickly deleted the video and didn't reply to me again. My best friend finished shopping and came out, offering to treat me to afternoon tea, but I refused. I rushed home. I wanted to see what other tricks Tiffany had up her sleeve. As soon as I walked through the door, Tiffany immediately rushed over to apologize. She said, Sister Janice, when I was cleaning, I accidentally knocked over your skincare set. I thought it would be such a waste to throw it away, so I tried a bit. Please don't be angry, just tell me which items are damaged, and I'll replace them with new ones, okay? Oh, another new trick, is it? I nodded and said, all right, if it's damaged, then you should replace it. Tiffany was dumbfounded. She certainly didn't expect me to actually make her pay. She must have thought someone would tip me off, so she preemptively acted. After all, the video was deleted. There was no evidence. She just needed to insist it was an accidental breakage, and she couldn't bear to throw it away. Before, I not only sponsored Tiffany's tuition, but also frequently gave her many things because I saw how difficult it was for her to study in the city alone, away from her hometown. My long-standing indulgence had accustomed her to this, making her think I would let her get away with anything. Well, this time I would reclaim everything I had lost, and it could conveniently offset the tuition money I had sponsored Tiffany with. I didn't forget to add another emphatic sentence. My skin is very sensitive. If I use fake products, I'll get an allergic reaction immediately. Remember to buy from an official store. Tiffany's face, alternating between red and purple, was truly a sight to behold. She could only grit her teeth and agree. Stealing my things and then daring to say she used them on her feet. This was the price she had to pay. I don't know what methods Tiffany used, but she actually bought a new set of skincare products to return to me. When she brought it, it even included a receipt from the official store. Seeing her pained expression, I felt immensely satisfied. It was all her own doing. Kyson had been working overtime for the past 2 days. Tiffany had no opportunity to meet him, and naturally, I had no interesting drama to watch either. Kyson wasn't home for lunch, so the meal she cooked was noticeably sloppier. I asked, "Didn't you say you were doing an internship? Why aren't you going anymore?" She looked up at me, her eyes cold, no longer having her former warmth. "Sister Janice, HR told me to come this afternoon. Are you annoyed to see me idle at home?" "Oh, how dare she blame this on me?" I laughed coldly. "Whatever makes you happy." Seeing the meager meal on the table, I lost my appetite, so I turned and went out to meet my best friend for afternoon tea. I showed Tiffany's Xiao Hongsu to my best friend. She was fuming. "It truly takes a long life to see such brazen shamelessness. This really opens one's eyes." She looked at me worriedly. "Janice, you let a green tea bitch into your home. Be careful, you might be letting a wolf into the house." Initially, I wanted to let Tiffany realize her situation was hopeless and retreat on her own to avoid ruining her entire life. But I never expected this girl to be so brazen. In that case, I would play along with her to the very end. I pulled my friend aside and asked, "Do you have a rich playboy cousin? I heard he's exceptionally good at charming girls." "Yes, why do you ask?" I said. "Give me his contact number. I need his help with something." As soon as I got the contact number, I received a message from Kyson. He told me to come to the company. After saying goodbye to my best friend, I immediately headed to Kyson's company. As I stepped into Kyson's office area, I saw a familiar figure. I exclaimed in surprise, "Why are you here?" Tiffany seemed a little startled when she saw me too. She said, "Sister Janice, I'm interning here." I suddenly understood why Kyson had called me to the company. Just then, Kyson's assistant, Tony, appeared. "Sister Janice, are you here for CEO Kyson? He's in his office, probably not busy right now, you can go straight in." I glanced at Tiffany and Tony immediately explained, "Sister Janice, this is Tiffany, our company's new intern." As soon as he finished speaking, Tiffany immediately linked arms with me intimately, saying in a simpering voice, "Tony, Sister Janice and I are very close." Her coquettish tone gave me goosebumps. I pulled her arm away, my face cold, and walked towards Kyson's office. As I walked through the door, Kyson immediately told me that Tiffany's internship at the company was not related to her major. I laughed coldly. "Isn't it obvious she's targeting you?" Kyson, seeing my attitude, panicked and quickly waved his hands. "It has nothing to do with me. I only found out she was interning here when I got to the office. I contacted you immediately after that." I knew Kyson wasn't to blame for this, but I still felt extremely upset. Why did I choose to help such an ungrateful person in the first place? Kyson told me not to be angry. He said he wanted to fire Tiffany and that she wasn't worth getting upset over. I understood, but I was still furious. "You continue working. I'm just going to the restroom for a bit. I'll come find you later to settle this." Soon after I entered the restroom, I heard a familiar voice from the next stall. "Conquering him is only a matter of time. I surveyed his company today. I heard this company makes at least $1 million in profit every year. How could a jaundiced old hag like Janice Lynn be worthy of Mr. Kyson? He deserves someone more outstanding. The future woman who can stand by his side can only be me." Hearing Tiffany's words, I was so enraged I almost kicked down the restroom door. She truly had unparalleled nerve. How could someone like her dare to utter such words? Kyson and I had known each other since our university days. After graduating, Kyson embarked on a thorny path of entrepreneurship. For 3 years at 3 or 4 a.m., when the entire city was still deep in slumber, I watched the sunrise with him. For 3 long years, I devoted all my heart and soul to accompanying him, building this company with him from the very first brick. To achieve the success we have today, my body has taken a heavy toll. I was so exhausted I fell ill. It was precisely because my health didn't allow it that I reluctantly stayed home to rest and recuperate. And what did that Tiffany know about any of this? Did she understand what I had gone through? Yet she dared to spread such vile words behind my back, slandering my honor like that? Who did she think she was? She relied on my sponsorship money to study peacefully at university. She should have been grateful to me. Instead, not only was she ungrateful, but she also wanted to seize the opportunity while I was absent to undermine my marriage and steal my man. She was truly an ungrateful, beastly wretch. Let's see how I would deal with her, making her pay a hefty price for her despicable actions. "Sister Janice, I'm here." A deep, charming voice echoed, immediately grabbing my attention. I curiously turned my head, and with just a glance, I immediately recognized Brandon, my best friend Lily's cousin. Brandon was born into luxury, with an incredibly wealthy family and a life that lacked nothing. He not only knew how to indulge and enjoy life, but also knew how to dress to impress. Unlike Kyson's usually composed, mature, and steady demeanor, Brandon instantly appeared as a typical rich playboy who just knew how to throw money around. From his fashionable, trendy attire to the expensive Rolex watch on his wrist, everything exuded an overwhelming scent of money. "Sister, long time no see." Brandon greeted me with a bright smile, then handed me a designer Chanel bag, saying, "This is for you." I didn't stand on ceremony, taking the bag from him, opening it right in front of him, and pulling out the latest version of the handbag inside. Although I knew he was intentionally trying to curry favor with me, I couldn't help but be a little surprised. This guy really understood women's psychology, knowing how to please the ladies. This latest Chanel bag must cost at least 50,000 yuan, about $7,000 USD, right? Brandon replied generously, feigning indifference to the gift's value. "As long as you like it." Tiffany, standing right next to me, heard me mention the price of the bag, and she seemed unable to believe her ears, involuntarily letting out a gasp of surprise. Her startled gasp immediately caught Brandon's attention. He glanced at Tiffany, his eyes showing a hint of curiosity, and asked me, "Sister, who is this?" I smiled, intentionally introducing, "This is Tiffany, Kyson's company's new intern." Brandon proactively stepped forward, extended his hand to shake Tiffany's, his demeanor extremely friendly. I noticed Tiffany's eyes lit up brightly, as if she had just discovered a treasure. "Oh, it looks like the fish is about to take the bait," I thought to myself, smiling. It was almost 10:00 p.m. when Tiffany leisurely returned to the room. As soon as she walked through the door, she gave me a radiant smile and sweetly said, "Sister Janice, my roommate here just agreed to let me stay at her place. I'll move out tomorrow." Hearing her say that, did she even believe herself? I didn't expose her blatant lie, I just offered one last warning. "Tiffany, as a young woman alone in this city, you must know how to protect yourself well and not let yourself suffer." "Yes, thank you for your concern." Her reply sounded very nice and obedient, but whether she actually took my advice to heart, only she knew. When Kyson returned home, he was a little surprised, frowning as he asked me, "Has that ungrateful wretch had a change of heart? Why is she so well-behaved today?" I scoffed in reply. "She has a new target now. She doesn't care about an old man like you anymore." Kyson was smart. He immediately understood everything, wrapping his arms around my waist and asking, "Lily's cousin?" Yesterday Brandon suddenly showed up at the company and even ostentatiously gifted me a Chanel bag. If I didn't explain this clearly to you, a jealous jar of vinegar like you would surely explode. I playfully leaned into Kyson's embrace, softly asking him, "Do you think I went too far? Was I a bit too hard on her?" Kyson calmly asked me back, "Did you set them up, or did you force her down that path?" I shook my head, denying it. "Not at all. I just asked Brandon to give her the bag. I didn't do anything else." Kyson laughed coldly. "The unscrupulous will bring about their own downfall. If she likes to act that way, that's her business. It has nothing to do with us." Only about 2 weeks after leaving my house, Tiffany proactively requested to end her internship at Kyson's company. I went to Kyson's company to find him and coincidentally ran into Tony, who recounted this story. "Sister Janice, that girl was begging and pleading in every way imaginable for us to take her in as an intern when she first arrived. But now, after only 2 days, she wants to leave. What do you think she really wants?" Tony shook his head in exasperation. "What else could she want? She wants to find a rich husband to change her life. What else?" I scoffed. I just smiled without speaking, not revealing Tiffany's true intentions to Tony. I heard Tony had some feelings for Tiffany, but unfortunately, a girl like Tiffany was destined not to be a match for him. To each their own ambition, each their own path. "Go get back to work." I patted Tony's shoulder, signaling him to focus on his tasks. After Tiffany left Kyson's company, she didn't contact us again. I even deliberately checked Kyson's phone. Their chat interface was still where it had been before, with no new messages. Kyson pounced, hugging my waist tightly from behind, his large hand gently squeezing me. He said jealously, "You're already in my arms, yet you still have the mind to pay attention to others." One evening, while scrolling through Zio Hongsu, a popular social media app in China, I accidentally stumbled upon Tiffany's account. Unable to curb my curiosity, I instinctively clicked to view it. Her Zio Hongsu was no longer synced with my friend circle, and instead, It was filled with posts flaunting expensive branded watches and various designer handbags from famous brands. Every time she posted a photo, God knows how many layers of software it had been edited through, how many hours it took to produce. It would always attract a horde of her fanatical followers, gushing with endless compliments. Not only that, Tiffany also loved to choose complimentary comments to reply to, feigning friendliness and openness. Under a photo of two hands intimately clasped together, a fan commented, "Oh goddess, your Mr. Kyson's hands are so beautiful." Tiffany quickly replied, "Please let me clarify, it's Mr. Zhao." Wasn't it Brandon? I thought to myself. I quickly took a screenshot of this comment and sent it to my best friend. Just a few seconds later, my best friend's phone rang. "Janice, I actually meant to gossip about this with you yesterday, but I've been so busy lately that I forgot," she scoffed. "That green tea bitch saw my cousin's friend driving a Lamborghini and immediately latched onto him." Ever since Tiffany started dating Brandon, she followed him every day, frequenting all sorts of entertainment venues and indulging in debauchery. Brandon was young and loved to party, always surrounded by a bad crowd who only knew how to drink, eat, and enjoy life. Coincidentally, Tiffany was also someone who couldn't stay content. Not long after, she started complaining that Brandon wasn't generous enough or wild enough, so she secretly started seeing another friend of Brandon's. In reality, that other friend of Brandon's was just a fake rich playboy, a notorious socialite in the party scene. The Lamborghini he frequently drove was just a rental car. That green tea bitch dating him would definitely not have a good ending. As for Tiffany's affairs, I just heard about them and didn't intend to waste too much effort caring about her life. My best friend was still indignant, saying, "She treated you like that, ungrateful and a green tea bitch incarnate. Are you just going to let her off easy?" I laughed in reply. "Didn't you say she wouldn't have a good ending? So why should I waste my time dealing with her and tiring myself out? What would be the point?" Tiffany was merely a girl who hadn't even stepped out of the university gates, still unaware of basic societal rules. Meanwhile, Kyson and I had to start our business from scratch, enduring all the bitterness and sweetness of life, struggling in society for many years. So what did she have to fight me with? My next encounter with Tiffany happened 2 months later. The school suddenly invited me to visit. The head of department looked at me apologetically and said, "I'm sorry, Ms. Lin. The student you sponsored has been expelled from our school. She has disappointed your expectations. We've decided to refund half of the tuition fees you've paid for her over the years from the school's educational fund." When we initially decided to sponsor a university student, Kyson had carefully reminded me to be very cautious to avoid being scammed. Therefore, I had always contacted the school directly to inquire about information and complete the necessary procedures. I just never expected that with only a few months left until graduation, Tiffany would suddenly be expelled. I asked the head of department about her situation, and he looked embarrassed, only saying that Tiffany had seriously violated the school's discipline and regulations. In the end, I decided not to accept the refund from the school. I asked the school to help me choose another suitable student and use that money to help them have the opportunity to attend school. Once I had decided to do this, I didn't want to feel regret because of Tiffany's personal wrongdoings. After leaving the dean's office, I recounted the entire story to Kyson. Kyson calmly said, "It was bound to happen sooner or later. People with such moral character, even if they graduate, would only be a menace to society. It's better they don't graduate at all." Actually, I didn't feel sorry for Tiffany, but I felt pity for her grandmother, who had worked hard her entire life to raise her. I had met the old woman once. She was a very simple, honest, and kind elderly lady. If she knew about this, she would surely be heartbroken. As I was about to leave the school, I coincidentally met Tiffany's roommate. I had met her once before when I came to the school to help Tiffany get her internship documents stamped. At that time, she had also asked for my help with a few small things. Seeing me, she seemed a little surprised, hesitatingly asking, "Sister Janice, why are you at my school?" I said. "The school had something they needed me to handle." Her gaze at me was a bit strange, as if she had something to say but didn't dare. I noticed this and told her not to hesitate, to just speak her mind. She timidly asked me, "Sister Janice, are you here because of Tiffany?" I nodded, replying honestly. The school said she had dropped out and wanted to refund my tuition fees. She sighed and said, "Tiffany used to be quite good, but she later befriended some bad people and was led down the wrong path." I asked her about Tiffany's specific situation, and she gave me a link, telling me to check it myself, and I would understand. Back home, I opened the link she had sent. It was a post on a famous Q&A platform with an attention-grabbing headline. Exposed. Prestigious university student acting as a homewrecker, scamming for meals and drinks, even plotting to climb the ranks with an illegitimate child. The post not only revealed Tiffany's personal information, but also included a video. In the video, Tiffany looked utterly miserable, surrounded by a group of young women who were beating her mercilessly. The video captured Tiffany with disheveled, almost torn clothes, accompanied by a relentless stream of venomous curses. More notably, a man also appeared in the video, constantly begging for forgiveness, ceaselessly trying to justify himself by claiming Tiffany had seduced him, seemingly wanting to pin all the blame on her. Below the post, the comments section was about to explode with countless attacks and slanders against Tiffany. Some even declared they had shared the post on the school forum, demanding that the school take strict disciplinary action, or they would pressure the Department of Education. With such rapid spread, the school certainly couldn't ignore it to protect its reputation. Tiffany's expulsion seemed an unavoidable outcome. I quickly sent the video link to my best friend. After watching it, she immediately called me, her voice full of schadenfreude. That green tea bitch really reaped what she sowed. The man in the video is Brandon's friend. I just found out recently. It turns out he's already married with children. She continued, all those designer handbags and expensive watches he gave that green tea bitch were all fakes. It's truly a waste of her efforts to sleep with him, getting nothing but trouble. Tiffany completely deserved it. It was all her own doing. She could have had a bright future, but instead, she deluded herself into taking shortcuts, wanting to have everything without effort. If life were that easy, there would be no poor people in this world. Everyone wants a good life. There's nothing wrong with that. But most importantly, one must rely on their own hands and mind to achieve it, not by using despicable tactics for personal gain. Suddenly, my period was 2 weeks late. Worried, I decided to go to the hospital for a checkup. As I walked out of the clinic with my test results, I was so engrossed in looking at the images on the report that I didn't notice my surroundings and accidentally bumped into someone, quickly apologizing. Looking up, I realized the person I had bumped into was Tiffany. She seemed equally surprised by the coincidence, her face clearly showing astonishment when she saw me. After a few seconds of shock, she stammered, "Sister, why are you here?" Before I could answer, a strict nurse's voice rang out from behind. "Tiffany, you haven't paid your hospital fees yet. How can you take the medicine home? Go pay now, you still owe several $100,000. Hearing the nurse say that, Tiffany became extremely flustered, her already delicate face turning even paler. Compared to the first time I met her, she was now much thinner and weaker. Seeing her clutching her stomach and the bag of medicine tightly in her hand, I roughly guessed what was happening. I had also once had a child, a little angel I cherished deeply. It was just that my health wasn't good then, and I couldn't keep the baby. After that shock, I decided to quit my job and stay home to recuperate, focusing on treating my body. I extended my hand towards Tiffany, softly saying, "Give me your card." Tiffany looked at me blankly, not understanding what I meant. "You need to take the medicine. If you let it get infected, you might lose the chance to be a mother later. That would ruin your whole life," I explained. Tiffany gave a bitter laugh. "What's the difference now? My life is already ruined." I didn't want to listen to her nonsense, so I snatched the payment card from her hand. After paying at the automated machine, I returned the card to Tiffany. Consider this my last help to her, as if accumulating good karma for the tiny life in my womb. Tiffany, you're still young, there are still chances to correct your wrong paths. Life is only once, and if health is lost, there's nothing left, I advised her. She bit her lower lip, her red-rimmed eyes fixed on me. Seeing her like that, I was afraid I might soften and do a good deed in vain. Determined not to think further, I turned to leave. I had only walked 2 steps when Tiffany suddenly called me back. Turning around, I saw Tiffany bowing deeply to me. "Sister, thank you. I've wronged you in the past. If I ever have the chance in the future, I will definitely repay you." I replied with a faint smile, "I don't need your repayment. Just live a good, decent life and that will be enough." Stepping out of the hospital, I saw a familiar figure in the distance. Kyson saw me too. He strode with his long legs, quickening his pace towards me. "Didn't you say you had an important meeting today? Why are you here?" I asked. Kyson's company had recently been launching a major project, so he was exceptionally busy. Hearing I wasn't feeling well, he had originally intended to take me to the hospital, but I had waved him off. It's just a simple checkup, I can go by myself. There's no need to miss your work. He's been working overtime for over half a year for this project. I didn't want any oversight to affect his work. Kyson smiled gently. The meeting went very smoothly. I actually intended to have lunch with the partner, but when I said my wife wasn't feeling well and had to go to the hospital, the other party was very understanding and proactively rescheduled our appointment. I recounted my recent encounter with Tiffany to Kyson. His face showed little interest, clearly not caring about the topic. The medical bills are paid, so that's that, as long as you're happy. But how is she? What did the doctor say? Do we need to see another doctor for a second opinion? He asked worriedly. Seeing his tense expression, my heart felt as sweet as honey. It was so fortunate that his partner understood, allowing him to come here with me. That way, I could share my joy with him immediately. I pulled out the ultrasound paper and handed it to Kyson, telling him to look at it himself. Kyson's expression was extremely serious. Even when signing the last major project contract, I had never seen him so grave. After a moment, Kyson frowned at me, asking suspiciously, "What's a yolk sac? What does this paper mean?" I burst out laughing. "What else could it mean? It means you're about to be a dad." The pregnancy is still in its early weeks, so we can only see the yolk sac, not yet the fetal heartbeat, but it's confirmed to be a uterine pregnancy. I have faith that this time, my precious baby will be born safely and healthy and call me Mom. Kyson was stunned for a few seconds, then regained his composure. His face was filled with joy and astonishment as he looked at me. "Wife, we're having a baby?" "Yes, my dear husband, we're about to have a little angel." Hearing this, Kyson froze again, the corners of his mouth constantly curving upwards, just standing there, smiling foolishly. His eyes were fixed on my flat stomach, wishing he had X-ray vision to see through. "All right, don't be silly anymore. I had to get blood drawn early this morning, I'm tired. Please take me home to rest." Just as I was about to ask him what was wrong, Kyson gripped my shoulders tightly, his face serious, and said, "Wife, stay still, don't move. You absolutely cannot do any strenuous activities now. I'll go drive the car here." Before leaving, he didn't forget to warn me again. "Remember, absolutely do not move." With that, he turned and ran off. In his haste, his left foot tripped over his right, making him stumble and almost fall. Seeing his comical appearance, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. I gently placed my hand on my flat stomach and whispered, "My darling, what should we do? Your dad seems a bit silly, but he truly loves us very much, so you must grow up obediently and safely, okay?" "Yeah,